The alternative book that I read was called Geeks by John Katz. John Katz is a middle-aged man who is a writer for the Rolling Stone magazine and for Wired, an online website. He wrote this book, which is about two 19-year-olds, Jesse and Eric, from Caldwell, Idaho, who decided to head out to Chicago, Illinois, using the internet as their only guide. The year was 1998. Jesse and Eric had just graduated from Middleton High School. They were good friends in high school. They hated it though. They both were fairly smart. They loathed the fact that if you were not a jock, a partier, popular, or rich kid, you didn't fit in there. They both resisted authority and the regiment that school offered. They found themselves in a very small group called the Geek Club. Both of them were smart, but didn't always apply themselves. They loved spending time online and playing games like Quake and Doom. The internet was their life, their community, their safety net. They also loved working on and fixing up computers. Both of them were bullied and picked on in high school. After high school, Jesse got a part-time job working for a small computer store in town. Eric didn't have a job, but always liked hanging around Jesse down there at the store. None of them had a car, so they rode their bikes to work, which was about 6 miles away. John Katz told the two boys that the internet and their computer skills were becoming so valuable in the world that they could find good-paying jobs anywhere. Finally, after going and visiting with the boys in Idaho, both Jesse and Eric decided to go take a risk and get out of Caldwell for good. They didn't see much future there anyways. They checked out the internet and did some research, and they decided to head to Chicago. They both had about $400 saved up, and that was it. They got a rental truck, found an apartment, and an interview for a job, just using the internet as their communicator and guide. With food, rent, rental truck, and bus fare, they had about $10.72 left over. Jesse was the first one who got an interview for an IT troubleshooter job for a large computer company in Chicago. They gathered up all their gear, which was mainly a computer equipment, a few clothes, and they headed out. If Jesse didn't get this job, they would run out of money, and both would have to call home to ask for money just to get back home. During this trip, Jesse stayed in touch with Mr. Katz, telling him all about his journey. Katz and Jesse started to form a great friendship. Katz was helping them the best he could by providing suggestions and what to look out for. The same day that they got to Chicago, Jesse had his interview. Pretty much the whole move to Chicago relied on Jesse getting this IT job. Jesse had no idea what to wear to the interview or what to say. The interview started and Jesse showed them what he could do and how quick he was at fixing computers. He started talking technical terms and they were surprised at what he could do. They decided to hire him on the spot. Even though it was a part-time job, he would be making twice as much he was making at the Idaho store. The apartment they went to see was in a bad part of town, but it was all they could afford. They didn't go out much, so they were content staying inside and living on the computer. That was their world anyways. They didn't need to go outside, which would be a dangerous thing to do where they were living anyways. Later on that week, Eric also got a job with a company in Chicago working with computers. Now they both had jobs. John Katz would come to Chicago and meet with the boys from time to time. They had both landed jobs within 1 week, just from information they got off the internet. Now they could start to build their lives outside of Idaho. But that was not the end of it. They both realized that after a while, this type of work became boring to them. They were not social people. They didn't have any other friends but themselves. Even though they were making okay money, nothing about them had changed much. Life was becoming a bore. Jesse started to feel that he could do much more with his life. He wanted to go to college and get a degree. This is funny because he hated school so much before, but realized in order to go further in his computer field, he would have to get a degree. This would be hard because he only got average grades in high school, and most colleges were looking for A and B students. He didn't want to go to just any college either. He wanted to go to one of the best schools in the nation, the University of Chicago, which also happens to be one of the best technological schools in the world. Getting in there would be hard, even if you were a straight A student. John Katz personally went to the dean of the university and talked to him about letting in a non-traditional student and take a chance on a kid like Jesse. He told the dean all about Jesse and his trip out of Idaho to Chicago by using nothing more than his wits and the internet. Jesse also wrote and sent a personal essay to the dean telling him why he would be a good candidate. It was a long shot at best to get in. Jesse never gave up. Mr. Katz said if he didn't hear by May from the university, it would be too late. May came and went with no word at all from the university. By now Jesse thought that he would have to wait and apply to a lesser recognized university the following year. Then in June, a letter came from the dean personally addressed to Jesse saying that he got in to the University of Chicago. Jesse got in. He was accepted. What a miracle. A dream came true. During this time, the Columbine shooting school incident happened in Colorado. The news grew into an all-out media frenzy. In-depth stories were surfacing on how these shooters were also bullied in high school and how angry they got and how mad they were at society. Even more details came out on how these shooters were outcast, loners, internet geeks, and gamers. It put geeks like Jesse and Eric into the same group, and that wasn't fair. This book shows how outsiders, internet geeks, loners, gamers can become successful in life, not just creepy killers as shown in the Columbine shootings. This book told a whole different story that geeks and kids who like computers and gaming can have a positive outcome in life and not depict them as sociopaths and killers.